At the heart of Christianity lies a problem. If God is all-knowing and all-powerful, then why does evil still exist? Welcome to Paradise Lost, written by John Milton. It tells the story of the biblical fall of man, but, curiously, from Satan's perspective. I want to take you on a journey through Paradise Lost, from the cataclysmic war in heaven to the demonic legions of pandemonium, and how a single apple doomed mankind. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Our story begins with Satan as he awakes in a dark chasm. He is dazed, trying to recollect just how he ended up in these dark depths. After a failed uprising against God, Satan and his fallen angels were defeated by the loyal armies of heaven. As a result, they were cast out, falling for 9 full days into the abyss. Rising to his feet, Satan begins to come to terms with his dismal situation. His punishment is to remain in hell for eternity, far from his creator in heaven. But fortunately, he is not alone. He soon finds Beelzebub, his second in command. Reunited with his general, Satan vows that as long as he lives, he will seek to destroy all the pure things that God creates. Satan and Beelzebub unfurl their wings and fly across the bottom of the vast chasm. Below them is the charred volcanic landscape of hell, a far cry from the rolling fields of heaven that Satan once knew. But maybe paradise is a matter of perspective. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell a hell of heaven. As the pair arrive at the center of hell, Satan rallies his legions. Out of the gloom, hordes of fallen angels emerge, and among them, the great princes of hell itself. Moloch, the blood-stained prince of cruelty. Astoreth, the horned queen who reigns over humanity's most base desires. And last to arrive, Belial, a cowardly but persuasive demon, full of empty promises. Along with a pantheon of other demons, these great princes will later be worshipped as false gods, many of whom appear in the Bible's Old Testament. As Satan delivers a rousing speech, the fallen angels raise their flaming swords in allegiance. Yet, Satan knows that his legions are diminished. If he is to emerge victorious, Satan must resort to more cunning tactics. It is not long before the infernal armies begin to construct vast mines to extract hell's precious minerals. Soon, the entire might of the underworld is focused on a colossal building project, a grand and terrible structure paved in pure gold. This is the Cathedral of Despair, Pandemonium. With the temple finally complete, trumpets sound out across the underworld, and the legions of hell descend upon their new capital, for a council of war has been summoned. Long is the way, and hard, that out of hell leads up to light. High upon his throne, at the center of Pandemonium, sits Satan. Before him stand the cheering hordes of his fallen legions. The nations of hell have gathered to decide on how to get revenge on God, and they plan to do so with a vote. For all its flaws, at least hell is a democracy. The first to speak is Moloch. He calls for open war, to strike heaven with overwhelming force. His call for blood is met with applause from half the hall. But not everyone is convinced. Like the demon Belial, to him, war is futile, especially against the strength of the Archangel Michael. Instead, they should accept their fate and ignore heaven altogether. The debate continues, and the devils weigh up their options. But there is still one voice that they have not taken into account: Satan's. Silence falls over the crowd as Beelzebub rises to speak on his master's behalf. You see, Satan has heard a rumor that God is about to create something new: man. What's more, man will be given free will. the ability to choose between good or evil. What better vengeance than to make man sin against his creator? Excited murmurs spread through the assembly. The floor closes and the demons cast their votes. The result is unanimous. The demons depart Pandemonium and resume the construction of hell. Meanwhile, Satan journeys to the farthest edges of his domain, to the gates of hell itself. Yet, access is denied, for standing before the gates are two demonic guardians. One has the upper body of a woman and the lower half of a serpent. The other is a living shadow, formless and indistinct. Satan approaches the dark figure and demands entry through the gates. The figure responds and seems to recognize him. He reveals that he is Satan's son, and standing beside him is his mother, who also happens to be Satan's daughter. It's a long and messy story, but then again, this is literally Satan. What did you expect? During this awkward family reunion, Satan shares his plan to corrupt humankind. Both offspring are eager to take part. Death is thrilled at the thought of the countless souls he will one day claim. Sin is simply excited to be involved in the process and unlocks the gates. Satan is released to the realm of chaos and begins his journey to God's creation. The opening chapters of Paradise Lost document the rise of Satan and the beginning of his diabolical plan for humankind. But his journey is only just getting started. Before we go any further, I want to zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Why do we have a Christian story where Satan is the main character? And who was the man behind it? John Milton. Born in 1608, John Milton was destined to live an extraordinary life, though not necessarily a happy one. From a young age, Milton showed signs of a brilliant mind, but a rebellious spirit. After his studies, Milton travelled to Italy, where he immersed himself in the works of the greats. From the classical heroes of Virgil's Aeneid to the vivid descriptions of hell found in Dante's Inferno. During this time, he even met the astronomer Galileo, who was under house arrest for defying church doctrine. When Milton returned to England, he found a country engulfed in political chaos. King Charles I had dissolved Parliament, claiming the divine right of kings. The idea that God alone gave him the authority to rule, not the people. This rift erupted into a bloody civil war. Milton sided with Parliament and became a vocal critic of the monarchy. He even published a series of writings calling for the freedom and liberty of all men. Eventually, the civil war came to a close. The royalist forces were defeated, and King Charles I was beheaded in the streets of London. The monarchy was abolished, and England was declared a republic under Oliver Cromwell. But after Cromwell's death, the republic collapsed into political instability, and in 1660, the monarchy was restored. As he had supported the downfall of the king, Milton was briefly a wanted man, and it was during this time where he began writing his greatest work, Paradise Lost. By this time, however, Milton was old and had become completely blind, so much so that he dictated the entire poem to his daughters, line by line. Paradise Lost is very much a product of its historical context, and although Milton was eventually forgiven by the crown, we can clearly see how the turmoil of his day influenced his writing. After witnessing so much devastation, it's no surprise that he was preoccupied with the depths to which humanity could sink. The result was his masterpiece, a retelling of the fall of man and how sin first entered the world. But in all the darkness, there is hope, for Milton believed that one day God will come to save humanity, and that leads us to our next chapter. Hypocrisy, the only evil that walks invisible, except to God alone. Up in heaven, the angels gather for a council of their own. At the centre sits God upon his throne, and at his right hand is the Son, who will one day incarnate as Jesus Christ. From their divine vantage point in heaven, they look down upon the Garden of Eden, inhabited by Adam and Eve, blissfully unaware of what is about to unfold. You see, God already sees what lies in Satan's heart, the corruption of humankind. At this point, the Son asks whether God could ever forgive humanity should they choose to disobey him. God responds that forgiveness is possible, but only if a sacrifice is made. A volunteer must be sent from heaven to live and die as a human. Realizing that this is his cue, the Son steps forward and offers himself as tribute. One day, he will sacrifice himself on behalf of mankind and defeat Satan once and for all. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, for paradise hasn't even been lost yet. Satan has arrived on Earth and is immediately enamored by the beauty of the nascent planet. As he gazes on creation, Satan is reminded of the glory in heaven and how it was taken from him. In search of the humans, Satan journeys to the sun. To avoid detection by the angels, he disguises himself as a cherub. Now, if we are to follow descriptions in the Bible, Satan should really look like this: a winged hybrid covered in eyes. Subtle indeed. As he arrives, Satan encounters the Archangel Uriel. Striking up a pleasant conversation, he wants to learn about its newest inhabitants. Impressed by the cherub's devotion and unable to see through its disguise, Uriel reveals that the first humans currently reside in a walled garden somewhere in the Middle East. And with that, Satan thanks Uriel and sets off to the Garden of Eden. Me? Miserable. Which way shall I fly? Infinite wrath and infinite despair. Upon a mountaintop, Satan surveys the Garden of Eden. Below him lies a world that knows only peace, but that will change soon enough. As he climbs down, Satan is racked by an unfamiliar feeling: doubt. He knows that mankind is entirely innocent, yet they will be the ones who will suffer the most. And for what? Revenge? All Satan must do is repent to God, whom he knows would forgive him. But the thought of bowing down, the thought of singing praise to someone he hates, no, that is something he simply cannot do. There will be no reconciliation. As Satan himself admits, the wounds of deadly hate have pierced so deep. Satan knows that he can never truly escape hell, because the real hell is within him. And misery needs company. If there was ever a time on Earth where perfect harmony existed, it would be the day spent in the Garden of Eden, a paradise free from death or disease. But there is one here who does not belong. A lone seabird, standing in silence. A cormorant. Look closer, and this is no bird at all. It's Satan, in disguise. Before Satan stand two upright creatures, more noble than any animal he has seen in the garden. They are man and woman, God's most beloved creature. Yet, the very sight of them fills Satan with loathing. He knows he could have loved these creatures, but he also knows what he must do. Following them through the garden, they arrive at a clearing within the forest. In front of them stands a single tree, one that bears enticing red fruit. As the couple approach, they recall a single command that God had given them. Of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat. What they don't realize is that Satan has been listening. Smiling to himself, a plan begins to form. That night, a group of angels are keeping watch over the garden. Above them, the angel Uriel meets with Gabriel. In hushed tones, Uriel confesses that Satan has infiltrated the garden, having deceived him with a disguise. Gabriel commands a group of angels to scout the garden, with the knowledge that Satan might be able to change form. Meanwhile, Adam and Eve lie asleep. But beside their resting place, Satan crawls near them, disguised as a toad. He begins to whisper evil thoughts into her dreams. However, it is not long until he is discovered by the angels. With his disguise revealed, Satan is brought before the angel Gabriel. But then, God intervenes and mysteriously commands that Satan is released. Reluctantly, the angel obliges, and Satan slinks away into the night. To love or not, in this we stand or fall. The next few books of Paradise Lost step back from the main narrative and take us into a flashback, exploring the events that took place before the story. The sequence starts with a new angel, Raphael, who visits Adam and Eve and shares a meal with them. Over dinner, he warns them that there is an intruder in the garden, and then reveals to them how he became an enemy of God. Before the creation of the world, there was no other angel more powerful and more beloved than one. But the fortunes of that nameless archangel were about to change. God had an announcement to make. You see, the Father had begotten a son, equal to him in every way. From that moment on, the Son was to rule at his right hand, and all were to bow before him. But not everyone would. Unable to accept God's favoured son, the nameless archangel was consumed with envy. He believed it was he who deserved to rule alongside God. The angel began to sow dissent in heaven. He soon planned to set up a rival throne to challenge God's right to rule. From that day forward, this angel was known as the adversary, or in Hebrew, Satan. Satan's words were persuasive, and a third of heaven's angels joined his rival kingdom. The trumpets of war were sounded, and cries rose up to overthrow the tyranny of God. Few dared to challenge this upstart ruler, except for one lowly angel named Abdiel, who fled to inform God of Satan's treachery. Of course, God already knew of Satan's rebellion and had prepared his most loyal angels for war. Leading the heavenly army was the Archangel Michael. The trumpets of heaven sounded, and chaos erupted in paradise. Angel turned against angel as the corrupted forces of Satan clashed with the loyal defenders of heaven. It was the first time the universe had ever seen violence, and it would not be the last. The battle rages on for 2 days. With deadly artillery, Satan's forces nearly overwhelm God's. But on the 3rd day, God sent his own son into the fray, who cast Satan and his angels into the abyss. At long last, Satan and his renegade angels were driven out of heaven, falling for 9 whole days into the abyss. And it is there where they would remain, at least in theory. As Raphael finishes recounting the story, Adam becomes increasingly more curious. His questioning grows more persistent, and Raphael begins to worry about humanity's insatiable thirst for knowledge. With the war in heaven now over, God is now ready to create the physical universe. Over the course of 6 days, God speaks the cosmos into being, beginning with light and adding something new each day. But on the 6th day came God's masterpiece, the creation of mankind. Forming the first man from clay, God shaped him according to his own image and likeness. After breathing life into him, he named him Adam. Despite the beauty of the garden, Adam began to grow lonely and in need of a companion. So God put him in a deep sleep and took out one of his ribs, and from it fashioned the first woman, Eve. Their union was blissful and perfect, totally untouched by sin. What's more, humanity was granted a special gift, free will, the ability to choose between good or evil. They were free to roam the Garden of Eden, but there was only one rule: do not eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge. Revenge, at first though sweet, bitter ere long, back on itself recoils. 8 days after his banishment, Satan has been searching for a way back into the Garden of Eden. To pass through undetected, Satan disguises himself as a black mist and drifts silently back into the garden. As he passes, he surveys the various animals, deciding on which one to inhabit. For his plan to work, he'll need a creature known for its subtlety and cunning. At last, he will show God just how painful rejection truly is. Meanwhile, Adam and Eve are tending the garden. Today, however, Eve suggests that for efficiency, they should split up and work separately for the day. Adam is hesitant, aware of Raphael's warning about Satan being nearby. But Eve insists. She'll recognize a fallen angel when she sees one. Adam reluctantly agrees, and the pair go their separate ways. Unfortunately, Eve is full of bad ideas like this. You can tell this poem is a product of its time. Satan has been watching and has noticed this perfect opportunity. As Eve approaches Satan's hiding spot, he is momentarily stunned, struck by her innocence and beauty, again of its time. Eventually, Satan composes himself and slithers out to greet her. He begins to shower Eve with praise, complimenting her on her beauty. Eve is of course flattered, but also surprised. In her short time in Eden, she knows that animals aren't meant to talk. Well, the serpent explains, he has gained the ability to talk after eating from a certain tree with delicious fruit. Eve immediately realizes what he means. She declines his offer, but remains puzzled. The serpent persists, and with a sly smile, begins to plant doubt in her mind. He reveals to her that God is lying and wants to keep her ignorant and obedient. She carefully plucks an apple from the tree and holds it gently in her hand, and then, delicately, takes a bite. Minutes later, Adam finds Eve in a grove. In the meantime, it appears that she has helped herself to more and more of the delicious fruit. Adam is horrified. Eve has done the one thing she knew to never do. But Eve feels differently. She tells Adam that her eyes have been opened, as if a veil has been lifted from her vision, and now she wants Adam to join her so that they might live together as equals. There is no going back for Eve, and Adam knows it. He also knows that he cannot bear to live without her. If she is going down, then so will he. Adam takes the fruit from Eve's hand and joins his doomed lover. The moment he bites into the fruit, it is as if the world has sharpened into focus. A flood of new sensations enter Adam's body: greed, envy, lust. And it is at that moment when God shows up. Did I request thee, Maker, from my clay to mould me man? Elsewhere in the garden, a voice calls out for Adam and Eve. It is the Son, who already knows what has just taken place. Adam immediately blames Eve, and Eve weeps in regret, accusing Adam of hypocrisy. But the damage has already been done, and now they must be punished. But first, the Son's eyes catch movement in the undergrowth. A serpent. For allowing itself to be used as a vessel of evil, the creature is cursed. It shall crawl on its belly for the rest of its days. The Son then turns to Eve and declares her punishment. She and all her female descendants will suffer the pain of childbirth. Then the Son turns to Adam. He and all his male descendants shall toil for survival, and after a lifetime of toil and sorrow, they will both grow old and die. On the other side of the cosmos, Satan returns to Pandemonium triumphant. Sin and death rush to greet their father. While he has been away, they have been busy and have constructed a grand bridge, stretching from the gates of hell into the mortal realm. Seated upon his golden throne, Satan addresses his loyal subjects. But his joy is short-lived, for in that very moment, every demon is transformed into a snake. All that remains is his own personal hell. Live well. How long or short, permit to heaven. Adam and Eve are now miserable. Having come to terms with the consequences of their actions, they begin to repent and pray. But they know full well that they're no longer worthy of paradise. To escort them out is the Archangel Michael, who leads them towards the entrance of the garden. Before they leave, Michael reveals to Adam a series of visions, stretching across the history of the Bible, from the Great Flood that will wash away humanity to how the infamous Tower of Babel will be thwarted by the invention of language. Adam laments at the suffering his descendants will endure, all set into motion by his single act of disobedience. But in the darkness, there is hope, for Michael also reveals that God himself will one day come to save humanity. Through his resurrection, Satan will be defeated, and paradise will be regained. Adam and Eve arrive at the gates of Eden. Behind them, the entrance is sealed shut, to be guarded by Michael. And so, the first humans leave paradise, and embark on a new journey into the brave new world that lies before them. And that is Paradise Lost. It's a story full of fascinating characters, brought to life through countless artworks, but especially the haunting etchings of Gustave Doré and the otherworldly visions of William Blake. And at the centre of it all is, of course, Satan. Unlike the traditional medieval picture of Satan, who is this cloven-hooved monster, Paradise Lost presents a figure who is far more human, one who experiences emotions like envy, doubt, and pride. Satan may not be the hero, but he is certainly one of literature's greatest villains. A charismatic figure with the potential for good, but ultimately destroyed by his own pride. Shortly after it was published in 1667, Paradise Lost became an immediate success. It's a fantastic read, if a little dense at times. I really hope this video inspires you to pick up a copy. Oh, and did I mention it has a sequel, Paradise Regained? Paradise Lost remains one of the greatest works about Satan and the afterlife, but it isn't the only one. You see, long before Paradise Lost, there was Dante's Inferno, a haunting tour of hell written by the wayward Italian poet Dante Alighieri. In fact, I've made a video about it, as well as Dante's Divine Comedy at large. Watch here to find out more. Hey, thanks for watching. I had a great time making this, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you like this video and want to see more, why not subscribe? A like and a comment also go a really long way. Oh, and thank you to the patrons who support the channel. It really means the world. This has got to be one of my longest videos to date, and I just wanted to take this time to thank you. Thank you for your viewership. Over the last 6 months or so, I've been making videos more regularly again, and honestly, I've been blown away by your supportive comments. It goes such a long way, honestly. So thank you. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.